Well, hi everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we are live on Friday lunchtime, which means it's time for us to talk about coping with our feelings. And I'm pretty sure that you've all had a lot of feelings this week. And let's just make sure we remind everybody that feelings are great, right? We should have feelings, and nothing wrong with feelings. But the main thing is not to give them too much weight. In other words, understand that good feelings are just good feelings, and bad feelings are just bad feelings. And the whole thing about the work that we do here is to try and control them so they don't overtake our lives. And today we're going to be talking about a lot of feelings that I'm sure people have had during the week. And I want to make sure that you all know that we are all in the same boat, right? We're all having lots of feelings every week. Remember to follow us on Facebook or Twitter. The reason is that whenever we do a broadcast, we put notifications up there. And also, of course, make sure you click the bell here, and um, when it asks you, say you want the notifications, so that if we need to cancel a broadcast, it will also warn you there. Um, Remember as well that the thoughts you're going to hear are mine as a human being. I'm not a doctor or a psychiatrist or a shrink, a therapist or anything like that. A lot of the things you're going to hear are from my experience getting gray hair. And that of any research I might have done. And I'm inclined to keep to the mainstream when I do my research so that we're on a sort of pretty solid footing. Hi there, Charlotte. Good to see you. Um, and congratulations, Charlotte's just reminding us that she has been going out every single day for at least half an hour. And she's on day 319 of that. That is incredible, Charlotte. I'm so proud of you. I wish I could say the same, but I can't. And um, but it is wonderful that you have done that, and I'm certain you've felt all the health benefits and also the mental health benefits of doing something like that. And that is the incredible thing. And I just want to remind you all that Dear Mama Sal is not just about me. It's a group of us that get together every week and talk about things. And we talk about feelings at lunchtime on a Friday. We do money saving cooking on Friday evening. And just so that you all know, we're going to be doing koftas, which is sort of like a Moroccan meatball thing. It's, I've got to, not got to, I'm going to a potluck type thing tomorrow. And I thought, well, let me make these. And I wanted to show you how I'm making really cute little buns to go around them. So hopefully that will amuse you all tonight. Thoughts and prayers. We're moving into, for those of you who know Jody, our admin, her husband, who has also been looking after her for some years, he fell and really did a very bad strain of his shoulder, which sort of have put him in a situation where he can't help Jody as much as he normally does. But he's about to start week 3 of 6 weeks that he has to spend behaving himself. And, he's a man. Behaving himself isn't something that's high on his list of things. So let us hope that he does look after himself so that he can be strong enough to do what he needs to do when he's fully recovered. And if he behaves himself, he should be fully recovered in 6 weeks. As Charlotte's saying, yes, Charlotte's asking, how are you making out without his extra help, Jody? Well, I'll let Jody answer it and then I'll repeat it for the viewers who can't see the comments. I have some input, but I'd rather Jody told it from her way. In the meantime, know that we've got International Women's Day coming up on March 8th, I believe, and also that it's Sharon's birthday coming up on the 12th. Obviously, I would like to give thoughts and prayers to all the peoples in Ukraine and all the people in every country that has accepted refugees from Ukraine. Can you imagine that over 1 million refugees in a week? Any country, you got to think about that. Imagine your front door and 1 million people went past in a week. You imagine how many people that is? And Poland isn't the biggest country in the world to start with, and yet it has accepted so many people. I think it's absolutely incredible. And again, just a word of warning to all of you, be aware that, and I'm going to talk about it a bit later as well, just be aware of scams that are going out. If you are going to donate to help the people, then please make sure you do it through obvious channels, the Red Cross, your local news outlet, if it's got a special helpline, your bank, they will all have, safe ways in which to donate money. So, how are your feelings this week? That would be my question. How many of you felt a bit scared this week? How many of you felt happy this week? How many of you, let me have your input. And by the way, for those of you who are in the room, it's always great to have you here. Thank you. Jody is just reporting. She's saying, Charlotte, it's been an adjustment, but we're tackling tasks by helping each other and taking our time. Some things we've put on the back burner until he's fully healed, such as decorating for Easter. Yeah, it's amazing how your to-do list changes, all right, when you get down to what do I have to do. And Jody, here's something. Every time you feel frustrated, either of you feel frustrated about what is going on, think about those million refugees who also won't be decorating for Easter. And so, this is like, um, I don't know about you, but sometimes we have to accept the fact that what we thought last week was a bad thing, perhaps this week isn't so bad at all. So, yeah, it's so really important that we understand that everything is relative to what's going on right around the world. Now, it doesn't mean that Jody and Lionel's struggle isn't difficult. It is. But they're not trying to do that as well as have bombs drop all around them and uh, screaming children, terrified, all those sort of things going on at the same time. So we all need to be grateful for the life that we have and be very grateful. And I'm going to be talking about, the gas prices and stuff like that in a second. But, the truth is, this could be the good time. And we do need to just do that. I want to tell you, for those of you who've been following my story on the air fryer, for me, this has been a week of frustration again. Now, for those of you who don't know the story, in November, I decided to give myself an early Christmas present of a caloric air fryer. And it arrived, and we actually did, I think, 2 broadcasts with it until it stopped working. And then I sent it back. And then they sent me a replacement. Took a while, but I think by January, I'd got a replacement. Well, the replacement wasn't the one I originally bought. It was a lesser model. So I had to pack that up, send it back. And then that arrived with them in early February. And, I was meant to get my proper one sent out immediately. And quite honestly, when it got to the end of February and I hadn't got it or any notification that it was on the way, I wrote to them and said, enough. Please give me a full refund. I have had enough. And I want to just say that I've been patient because I, quite wanted that particular model. But then I started to think about, boy, if this is their customer service, do I really want this brand? And then I started to think, I'm sort of quite happy I've still got, my halogen oven, which still works really well. And I'm going, wait a minute, I think I'm just going to keep what I've got. And that basically, by the time all the ins and outs were done, it saved me about $300. because that's what I got back. How many of you going, good plan? But I hung out there because I really did want to have that particular model for some reason. But life told me that wasn't to be. And I listened to life. So I just went, no, send me my note back. And the funny thing was, they sent it to me within 48 hours. I had it in my bank. Pretty amazing. Then I had moments of sadness this week. Anybody? And the reason I had sadness was I ordered a new duvet cover, a spare one, and pillows. And when I ordered it, they're meant to be gray. Well, I don't know about you, but I suppose it is gray, sort of. But quite honestly, it looks more taupe than gray. Actually, this inside looks pretty gray, but if you see the whole thing, you'll find out that it's taupe. And so you can probably see it there that it's more taupe than gray, right? So that was a bit disappointing. And then I thought, hey, you know something? It's fine for if anybody visits. I just don't want it in my bedroom. But it was a bit sort of, what a pity. So that was a frustrating moment for me this week. And I was sad. So onwards, I'm not going to, send it back or do whatever. It's just like, it'll do. How many of you are feeling informed this week? I'm pretty certain that you've been watching the news and know what's going on in Ukraine. And I want to know, do you all understand why NATO will not put in a no-fly zone? Do you all understand that? And if not, let me know, and I will try and explain that to you. In the meantime, a question for you all in terms of being informed. How many of you get out of bed in the morning and then immediately make your bed? And did you know that's not a good thing to do? Okay? So the reason I say that is because I was doing a bit of research this week, and one of the things it says, that's what I wondered. Hang on a second. Let me just get onto this. Kimmy saying it doesn't make sense that they're not helping. All right. So Kimmy, that's what I wondered. All right. I wondered whether anybody was feeling that. Well done, Kimmy. Thank you for saying that. All right. So there is a reason why the NATO countries are not supposedly helping Ukraine. They actually are helping Ukraine in a lot of areas, but the reason they're not putting boots on the ground or insisting on a no-fly zone is because if they do, then NATO will be at war with Russia. How many of you want World War III? And there's no doubt that if NATO comes in, and that includes the US, and puts boots on the ground in Ukraine, then it will be NATO versus Russia, not Ukraine versus Russia. And that means we will be, and the US, of course, and that will mean we will definitely be in World War III. And you probably know the chances of somebody pressing a red button that sets off a nuke in that could be very high. So I just wanted to make sure you understand it's not that they're not helping, they are helping. They are sending a lot of things to help Ukraine, but they cannot put boots on the ground or send planes up to protect them. All right, so just as long as that's clear. So here's Kimmy saying, I don't make my bed. I used not to make it at all because the bed needs to air out for all kinds of reasons. Yes. How many of you know the reasons? And, that's a good thing. It's a good thing to let the bed air out after you get out of it. It helps reduce. Oh, good, Kimmy. What are the good things? Share it so everybody can learn. But I found that quite interesting because I have a duvet, and I was inclined to jump out of bed, and crawl out of bed, and immediately put the duvet, and everything back in the right place, and boom, bed made. And then I was reading this week that's not a good thing to do, and so I have been doing the opposite, which is opening the bed right up, and then also I'm spraying it with Febreze, and then letting the whole thing air out. Yes, if you get out of bed and chances are you've been fairly hot and sweaty, and you immediately cover the bed up, you're going to increase the chances of bacteria and bugs in your bed. So just a thought for those of you. I like to, when I see these things that I go, God, that's interesting. And then if it's interesting to me, the chances are it's interesting to you as well. Well done, Kimmy. You win the prize for being informed this week. Now, do any of you know which flower, that is, as in a flower that blooms, which flower actually absorbs radioactivity? Right? I didn't know this. And because we've been in the news, it's been talking about, that nuclear plant that's been attacked. By the way, did you hear that they actually got the fire out, but the people working in it are doing so with guns to their head? So, that's against all conventions and everything. But here is the problem. Russia didn't sign on to any of those conventions. They're using cluster bombs, and that's banned in most countries in the world. But Russia didn't sign to ban them. So, it's just like the playing field is not level, let's put it that way. Anyway, so go back to which flowers do they plant when there's been a leak of any sort of radioactive material? And I didn't know this, but it's sunflowers. Apparently, sunflowers have a way of processing nuclear waste, and it's just like, so they planted them in Chernobyl, but they also planted them in Fukushima. You remember when that one had a problem with the tsunami? And I thought that was interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah. And you know me, I like those learning moments. And hopefully you do as well. Now, last week I talked to you a little bit about, I was going to dehydrate some raspberries. And I did. And boy, did that take a long time. But here they are. They are dehydrated raspberries. Got them? You can hear that they are pretty solid. And so when I had finished dehydrating them as best I could, I then left them on top of my, hang on, you're going to hear that they're crunchy now. They're crunchy. Anyway, I left them on top of my oven, my toaster oven, for all week. And then I put them in this container because it's cardboard, and with a silica gel pack, and that'll stay like this for another week. So any residual moisture there might be still on top of my toaster oven, actually my convection oven, not convention. And so by another week they should be totally moisture free, and then I'll be able to put them in a bottle, airtight. And how long will they last? Quite a long time. Now, I did also do a couple more experiments dehydrating meat. I dehydrated some beef and onion together. And I recommend the onion because it turns into dehydrated onion really turns into almost crispy onions that you can buy. But I have to tell you that they were so tasty that they ended up being a snack one evening. I've had a problem, haven't I? I did dehydrated beef strips. They didn't last. I did chicken. They didn't last. And then last week I did um, I had some roast beef. I was cleaning out my big deep freeze, or one section of it, and I had some strips of roast beef in there, and I thought I'll just cut them up and I'll turn them into jerky. Yeah, they didn't last. So tasty. I don't know why it's so much more tasty when it's dried. Somebody will tell me that the chemical blah, 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 blah does it. I don't know. All right, now then, I felt really informed this week because Jody told me something that I didn't know. Although part of me goes, I wonder whether, just sort of human nature was I knew, but she actually put hang on a second, she put a really bottom line on it, and that was if ever you have got a bag of, let's say, cheese, when you've got shredded cheese, if you take it out of your fridge and you see that it's full, in other words, that it's normally when you, hang on a second. I actually bag mine up into smaller amounts, but let's say that you take out this bag of cheese, but what you find out is that the bag is solid. It means that there's this bacteria growing in here somewhere that you can't see, and that's what's blowing the air into the bag. So I just thought, we'd talk about that in case any of you have that problem. Don't eat the cheese, right? Jody's saying about the dehydration, because the dehydration removes water, leaving behind the essence of what you're dehydrating. In a professional kitchen, any chef will tell you dehydration is all about flavor concentration. Yeah. And I would agree with him. Which is why I'm having so much trouble dehydrating meat and also, I don't know if you noticed, but that one little raspberry, or maybe it was two stuck together, was so tasty. I don't know if you saw how long it took me just to savor it, but it was just so good. So I'm going to be doing more dehydration stuff. And I will share my findings with you. And by the way, I'm not doing anything fancy. I'm just literally taking the moisture out. Yes, dehydrated carrots taste like candy. They're wonderful. Yes, I've got some here. So the whole trick is try not to throw anything out if you can help it. Dehydrate it. And the other thing is this. Even if you cut it up into small pieces, dehydrate it, and then, once it's all totally dry and you've made doubly sure that it's totally dry by putting in a gel pack and so forth, a silica pack, once you've got it really dry, hang on to it and keep it for soups and stuff. And it takes up no room in your fridge, no room in your freezer. You've just got it, put in a jam jar, recycled, for further use. I saw a quote here that I wanted to give you. I've got to get back to it now because, as usual, I managed to nuke it just as I was going to do it. How about this one? This is from Joseph Campbell. He said, "We must all let go of the life we have planned so as to accept the one that is waiting for us." How many of you know that we will need to be incredibly flexible in the coming weeks? And if the worst happens, we can do it. Oh, interesting. Kimmy's saying she wants to try to can meat. I have absolutely, I don't know why. I'm not into bottling it or canning it. How do you how do you seal the can? Interesting. Well, I wish you lots of luck with it. But again, I think the reason I like to dehydrate it is I can see if it's not right. Whereas in a can, if it's not 100%, I wouldn't know until I try to open up the can. That could be a bit nasty. Okay, Ellen DeGeneres said, find out who you are and be that person. That's what your soul has put you on this earth to be. Find that truth, live that truth, and everything else will come. It's going to be difficult to remain who we are with all that's going on in the world. And I would say, let's start by making sure you get to be the person you want to be. And, it's okay to have good days and bad days. Okay. So Kimmy's just saying that what she meant to say is actually she wants to can it the Amish way, which is in a bottle, right? So yeah, so it's Amish bottled meat. Yeah, there you go. That's interesting. Let us know how it goes. Now, I wanted to thank Kimmy, and I'm glad you're here, Kimmy, because you saved my bacon this week. And one of the things you told us a long time ago is before you press go on any Amazon order, make sure you double check the shipping costs, or on Wish or anywhere else like that. And I was about to put in an order this week, Kimmy, and just before I hit the okay, pay for it, let's go, I double checked the shipping because that's what Kimmy taught me. And boy, there was one thing there that looked like it was a local thing, and it turned out to be coming from the States. And guess what? It was a bottle of special mayonnaise that I wanted. And the shipping costs were going to be about 3 times the cost of the bottle of mayonnaise. Thank you, Kimmy. You saved me a lot of money this week. Now, I want to just check with you, how careful are you being with those fun things that come on your social media? Like, what's your favorite color? And, what was the color of your first car? And they ask you all these sort of funny questions, right? How many of you have ever filled one of those in? And, at the end of it, they'll tell you that, that you are a nice person or whatever. Now, the reason I want you to be doubly careful is what they do is they put questions in there that are pretty harmless. But if you think about it, they also contain questions that could be very important to get into your bank account, or, because they're also the sort of questions that are asked about, when you're trying to verify that it's you. And they might ask, where was your first school, or all those sort of things. And the reason I say that is because I think the more that we have problems with Russia at the moment, the more hacking is going to go on, the more ransomware is going to go on. And so be very, very careful of those little surveys that ask you to answer those questions. Is it making sense to any of you? Because you'll be amazed how many times they've got questions in there that could put your security at risk. Now then, Ruth Bader Ginsburg said, real change, enduring change, happens one step at a time. Oh, I believe that. Really, really important. And I really, really like that. Don't be in such a rush to change your life. right? Keep the bits that you want, but the things you want to change, it's taken you a lifetime to get those habits. Work hard at changing them back one step at a time. All right. And how many of you feeling pretty frustrated about the price of gas? I checked this morning just to give you some sort of idea, and the price of gas in Canada went up to over $2 a liter, and that would be about $4.50 a gallon, I guess. And remember, the exchange rate is very different. Jody, could you check what sort of 4.50 Canadian is in American? It's probably about nearly $6 these days, I would think, or more, maybe 6.50. So for those of you who are concerned about the gas prices, don't be concerned. It's going to get worse. All right. Be grateful it is what it is. And there are going to be times in the coming weeks where you're going to go, I wish it would go back to that. But this is about be prepared for it to rise even more as we cut down on Russian gas and all sorts of things. And be prepared to change how you use your car. And I would suggest, if you're not working for a living and don't have to use your car, try not to, right? I try to keep mine. I have to start mine up just to keep the battery going, but I try not to use mine more than once a week. And that is an important thing. So think about that. All right. How can you not use it on a regular basis? Some of you will probably end up getting rid of your car if it gets much worse because you won't be able to afford to run it. So consider that as well. And I know I had a friend of mine who got rid of her car and did everything via taxi cabs and said she saved money. I found that interesting. I would find it difficult because we don't have quite the sort of Uber coverage. We don't have Uber here. But, it's just like we don't have quite the same coverage, although we do have it with local taxi cabs, but it's not the same, right? So give that a bit of thought. How are you doing with being prepared in your pantry? We started that journey, a year ago? I was quite surprised. I've been sort of, as you know, stocking up bit by bit. I was surprised. I said buy, if you can eat it, buy things like pasta with meat in it. Well, I've ended up with a dozen cans of that now. This week I stocked up with more soups. It's the other way around. Okay. So 4.50 Canadian is 3.53 US at the current rate. Okay. So yours is more expensive now. Is that right? What is it in the States at the moment, Jody? In New Hampshire. And I believe in California, it's really expensive at the moment. And Kimmy, what is it where you live? In Wyoming, I think. And I'm not sure if Charlotte's still with us, but if she is, Charlotte, what is it in Eastern Canada at the moment? Let us know. Jody's saying they're paying $3.40, so a little bit less than I am. I was so grateful. I filled up the car earlier in the week, and I got it at about 50 cents cheaper than it is now. And that was high. Yeah, it's gone up 30 cents in a few days. Yep, I know. Quite amazing, isn't it? So I wanted to let you know I did manage to stock up on soups. I got both packaged soups and canned soups. One of the things I bought was a flat of mushroom soup, a flat being, 12. And the reason is that I normally do that about once a year anyway, because I find that mushroom soup is so versatile. It's great just to pour over something as a sauce on its own, or to make mushroom soup, or to add into a crock pot when you're doing something. So I'm really happy that I managed to get a flat of soup, mushroom soup, but I also got some vegetable soups and a lot of chicken noodle. I think that was to do with my childhood. I grew up. It was how many of you had chicken noodle as your comfort food? And I could hear my brain saying that's so much sodium, Sal. And I went, not if I add vegetables to it. And in other words, I use it as the base to a bigger soup. Wow. Kimmy's saying that in Wyoming, which is where she lives, gas prices are 30 cents higher than the national average. Right. So pretty scary. So I am now feeling that I'm good on, I want to tell you, I have a lot of paper towels, but I bought those. I bought those selector size ones that can come down to that size. All right. So I have a lot. Now, the reason I like these so much is because if necessary, I can use them as Kleenex. Um, I can also use them, uh, you know, obviously it's paper towels, but I use them for all sorts of different things. I'm amazed how much I use them actually. But I have got enough, I think, now to last me about a year. The other thing I wanted to say was you might want to consider buying what I think these are normally called shop towels, right? They come like this. The reason I would recommend that is these you can wash a number of times, right? It's definitely not a one-use thing if you don't want it to be. So a better idea than just paper. This is made of paper, but it's more concentrated. And the other thing I got was some. Let me get them because I wanted to show you this in case any of you don't know about it. Yeah, these are tissue type stuff, but they're made from cotton. I don't know if any of you have that. So they're very soft. And again, you can, because they're made from cotton, you can rinse them out and reuse them if you need to. So there you go. Some good ideas there. Now then, I did something this week that I haven't done before. I got two things that are what I call shelf-stable types of milk. For those of you who have seen it and not got it, milk to go. Have any of you seen that? That actually is what they call shelf stable. In other words, even though it says refrigerate on it, you only have to refrigerate it once you opened it. Up until the time you open it, it can stay sealed, which is great. And also, they talked about these Tetra Paks also being long shelf life. So think about that. Now I'm going to do some tests with them just to check. I did get a few of those milk to goes, and I will keep them and sort of open them up every now and then to see if they're okay and let you know. Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson said, "Wake up determined and go to bed satisfied." All right. One of the things that you will find is while you're going through tough times, worrying about stuff. Yeah, sorry, Kimmy's just adding powdered milk. I have powdered milk, both versions. I have powdered skim milk and whole milk. Expensive to buy. But yes, I have that as well. Good idea. Um, Anybody else found an? I also now have got tin milk as well. Um, Condensed. I've got a little bit condensed, a little bit evaporated, and I'm going to get a little bit more coconut milk. All right, that's my other one. Now then, fun thing arrived this week. How many of you use? Wait, before I do that. Jody's saying, I bought some almond milk weeks ago before Lionel was injured. I assumed it was spoiled by now because I hadn't had a chance to use it. Today I checked and it's perfectly fine. Yeah, just a heads up that it lasts quite a while. Yes, and that's why I wanted to sort of, I bought some as well that will be coming this week, and I will let you know as well from my experience. How many of you have wool balls in your dryer? Any of you? Rather than dryer sheets, wool balls. Now, funny enough, I have not had them before, but it was something that one of my friends talked to me about, and she said, she always uses wool balls in theirs. And so I thought, I think I'm going to get some and try. And the thing is, I got a set of 6 balls, okay? And from what I can gather, these 6 should last me for 1,000 washes, and that would be about 10 years worth. And they cost me about $20, but something tells me I'm not, putting all those dryer sheets in to the landfill. The other thing I think I keep my old aluminum foil, and I put it into a ball, and then I put it in an old sock and tie it up and throw that in. That also helps. But I thought I would just share with you that that's an idea for those of you who are trying to be lowering your carbon footprint. What do they do? The same as a dryer sheet, Kimmy. Now, my question, of course, is if I spray it with a nice smell, will it also bring that smell to my clothes? So I'll be doing some tests on that. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I thought you'd like to see that. I'm quite excited about using them, I must say. And the other thing I bought this week was some of this material that they, what do they call it? Hang on, I got to see what they call it because it took me a while to find out what it was. It's called Premium Vent Register Return Air Vent Filter Kit. All right, so what it really is a roll of material that they make the filters from. In other words, I didn't buy individual filters because why would I? That's, a lot of money. I could buy a whole lot of it for half the price. If you're using these, just one word of warning. If you're using filters in your air vents, keep swapping them around. First of all, never ever have them in all of your vents. All right, it'll mess up your furnace system. So what you do is sort of swap them around. All right. All right. So Kim's saying that she's having trouble with her milk going off very quickly. She's saying even if she has half a gallon, it spoils fast too. All right, so I'm presuming that you check that you've got the latest possible use by date on it. Because what I found, Kimmy, is they're obviously at the front of any what do you call it, freezer or a cold storage that they have the milk in. They will always put the oldest one at the front to try and get rid of it. So I'm pretty sure if yours is going off in your fridge, then that sounds to me like you've got a fridge problem. Have you tested the temperature in your fridge? Yeah, that's what Jody's also saying. It sounds to me like your fridge isn't cold enough. So you might want to get a thermometer in there and find out what the actual. All right, she's saying yes, it is. Okay. So that's the only thing I can think of. If you're consistently having milk go off, even in a half-gallon size, then either you're not using it fast enough. So maybe, what you might want to do, Kimmy, is to take half the milk and freeze it, and then just use half of so you've got quarter of a gallon in your fridge that you will use fairly quickly, and then bring out the other quarter of a gallon when you need it. That would be another idea. Let us know what the answer is. I'm pretty certain that but it does sound to me if you are consistently having milk go off. Yes, it's set at 40, but is it actually at 40? In other words, I don't know how old your fridge is, but sometimes they run out of oomph. And even though it's set at 40, it's not getting there. So that's why I'm saying you might want to get a thermometer in there and find out. Okay. By the way, I want to go back for a second on these dryer balls. I did do some math on it just so that you know. I tried to find out what is, if you bought bounce in a big thing, where it's got 200 of them, you'd pay about 5 cents each sheet. These about 1.5 cents per load. So definitely worth it just for that alone. Yeah. Kimmy, it sounds to me like there's something wrong with your fridge, quite honestly. And if you only got it last year, then is it still under? Yeah, the thermometer says 40. Okay. Maybe you need to turn it down lower. If maybe you need to turn it down lower. And how long is your milk in the fridge that it's going off? In a week? There's so many different factors here. Yeah, Consumer Reports, Jody's just saying, because she does great research for us. Consumer Report tests find that automated temperatures settings aren't always accurate. Yeah, I would be inclined to turn it lower and see if that helps. If you're buying milk and using it within a week, and that's the question. I find that mine normally lasts for about 2 weeks. And mine's set on. And I can't tell you what it is because it's numbers, but it's sitting in the middle. It's like on 4. And my milk lasts 2 weeks. Oh, now Kimmy's saying, I think it's where they get it because other people have had the same problem. So you're saying it is the milk that is a problem. Huh, interesting. So maybe, change the milk brand. or try some of that, you know, to-go milk and see if that lasts longer for you. It might be more expensive, but it might be cheaper in the long run because you're not throwing it away. So, any of you had any joy this week? Yeah, Jody's suggesting maybe try powdered milk. Or as I said, get the milk and immediately freeze it and only use as much as you need in a day. That's another thing, I think. So think about that as a possibility. Let us know how you get on, Kimmy, because we all learn from each other's experiences. Eleanor Roosevelt said this: "You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You are able to say to yourself, 'I lived through this horror. I can take the next thing that comes along.' You must do the thing you think you cannot do." Jody, you are our shining example of this, of course. Having overcome cancer and then, dealt with lymphedema and then, you name it, you've had the problem. And, being constantly in pain with fibromyalgia and, 3 different sorts of arthritis. It's just like amazing. And Jody's saying, "My joy this week was learning that my arthritis medication was approved immediately by my insurance." Phew. I want to tell you, I just have arthritis in a couple of joints. This one here, I don't know if you can see that finger is a little bit not, bent like my mind. And then this one as well, you can see is slightly inflamed as well. I just have those 2 joints that give me a lot of problem and a lot of pain. And, I cannot imagine the pain that you must be dealing with on a daily basis. And wow, and Jody's saying it's over $5,000 a month for that medication. Somebody's making a profit, right? I don't know. There's part of me that goes, I am concerned that is. I mean, I'm delighted that you've got it approved for you, Jody, and I hope that it works. But I don't know why I find it so startling that I know it costs them a lot to research, but boy, that is a really big nut to crack. Serena Williams said, "I tell myself, you've been through so much, you've endured so much, time will allow me to heal. And so this will be just another memory that made me the strong woman, athlete, and mother that I am today." I want to tell you that I lay in bed last night trying to sleep and realized that, I heard the breaking news that the nuclear plant in Ukraine, of which they have many, but that one nuclear plant was overtaken by Russian forces, and they now had all the people working in it working under gunpoint. And I'm going, can you imagine that? Bad enough that you work in a nuclear plant facility, scary stuff, but now you're trying to do it with a gun to your head. And one wonders why. Well, they want to be able to turn off all the power to Ukraine. When they want to take a certain city, they want the power to go and the water. That's how the Russians do it. They want to take over a town. They take out the power station and the water station, so that you imagine this midwinter, so that the residents don't have any power, any heat, and any water. Oh, nice, huh? And that's how they do it. There's nothing very humanitarian about that in my view, but I guess that's war. So our lives are stories in which we write, direct, and star in our own leading role. Some chapters are happy, while others bring lessons to learn. But we always have the power to be the heroes of our own adventures. Um, a friend of mine, you've heard me talk about Marnie many times, and you've seen her on videos every now and then. She is busy at the moment donating time at near the airport because a whole lot of dogs have come in from war-torn areas, and she's busy helping by volunteering there. So if you're wondering what to do and you are a pet person, understand there are going to be an awful lot of dogs and cats coming out of Ukraine soon. But again, be very sure you don't send money overseas for these animals. All right. Make sure that you wait for them to arrive in your country, and make sure you do it through the right channels, because they're going to be an awful lot of people making an awful lot of money by scamming you. And I want you to be very, very careful of that. All right. And, Einstein said life is like riding a bicycle. To keep balance, you've got to keep moving. So, as much as all this stuff that we're hearing out of Ukraine is horrific, I saw a really wonderful interview done uh, this morning with a children's cancer hospital in Ukraine. And, it's just like they need to keep going, right? The children are too sick to move. And so they've got to stay and look after the children. And it was just, amazing to hear the stories. And you go, this is so wonderful. I was also seeing that Doctors Without Borders are mobilizing internationally to get as close to the Ukraine as they can. And some will go into the Ukraine and risk their lives to help people. And, it's like any time that something like this happens, we get moments of people with incredible heroism. We need to know that, our life really is pretty good. Even if you don't think it is, it's pretty good by comparison, isn't it? Beyonce said, don't try and listen yourself for the world. Let the world catch up. You'll be amazed how many times in your lifetime people will want you to change to be more like them. I've had something happen recently where somebody asked me for some input about something, where somebody was asking them to do a whole lot of arranging and doing stuff. And I said, no is a complete sentence. Just say no. And don't give a reason. Just say no. That person can afford a proper travel agent and pay the price. So, just let them do it through a travel agent. Why? Because that person does nothing but complain anyway. And so it'll never be good enough. And why would you take the brunt of that? It's just like, no, let them do it through a travel agent, really. And give suggestions. That's fine. Yeah. You might want to consider this or this. Don't make the decision, whatever you do. Yeah. And Bruce Springsteen said something that I thought is pretty. We need to remember this as well. And he said, when it comes to luck, all right, how lucky are you? When it comes to luck, remember you make your own. And who was it that said, the harder I work, the luckier I become? I can't remember who said that, but it's just like, if we're going to need to find more ways to, I was saying last week, what if the internet goes out, people? What are we going to do? All right. We managed to live without the internet for many, many years. Will it be difficult? You bet it will. The streaming service, if that goes down, what are we going to do? know, buy a jigsaw puzzle for goodness sake. It's just like we need to think about the fact that life could go back to how it was if this carries on. So, may I ask you, because feelings are so important, with what is going on in your life at the moment and with your uh, personal challenges, what is your biggest fear at the moment? If you're watching it on the live chat, or even in the background, and we always welcome those of you that I can see are watching in the background. What is your biggest fear at the moment? And let's discuss that because it's really important not to ignore that. And then if you're watching on the replay, feel free to leave comments on the comments below. And because then we can hopefully give you some pointers as to things you might be able to do. I've got a very difficult situation at the moment where somebody I care about a great deal is going through a breakup of their relationship. And it's so difficult because you want to do so much. Um, and you can't, right? Because it's not your business. It's for them to put the effort in and make it go back, put it back together again or not, or do whatever. You feel so helpless, don't you? For those of you who've been on the support side of that, you will know what I'm talking about. Kimmy's saying she will go back to watching DVDs. Yes, do you still have a DVD player? That's awesome. Um, yeah, that is, perhaps not a bad idea. I know Yvonne's got an incredible collection. I still have, I still have some things on DVD. But do I have something that will play it? Yes, one of my computers still has a DVD disc drive in it. Good thinking. And by the way, if you have the ability to put some things onto DVD, you might want to do that just in case, right? Be prepared. So, to me, it's really important that we, remember that sometimes our greatest strength is in the numbers. Kimmy's saying she also has a VCR as well. Wow. Yeah, I know that Yvonne, my friend Yvonne, has a DVD collection par none, and then a VCR collection as well. And I guess she still has a VCR player, so she'd be just fine. I could always borrow it, couldn't I? And think about that, right? Even if you don't have it, maybe a friend of yours has got it so that you can swap it. And I've always said that about things like jigsaw puzzles. All right. Thank you, Jody. Jody's saying, I'm fearful of many things health related, but I've been working on managing that fear every day and not awfulizing things and not projecting, keeping aware of what is reality and what is my fear. Yeah, Jody, did you have that conversation with your healthcare people, which is in the case of war breaking out? Um, what happens to medication, right? Because we're bound to have shortages, we're bound to have supply line problems. So I think it'd be a really good discussion to have, just so that you feel more aware of what's going on, and um, those when that happens, what do they do? Yeah, good. Jody's saying she's seeing a doctor at the end of the month, and she's definitely asking that question. Online banking, we might not be able to have it at all, Kimmy. Kimmy's saying that online banking will be different. Yes, we might not even have online banking. If they take out the satellites, which is possible, that do all that sort of stuff, if they take those out, or if they, mess with the internet in general, we might not have online banking. So, you know, think about that. Are you prepared to go back to a bank? How many of you are going, wow, what if your ATM didn't even work? You have to go back to checks. How many of you are going, I don't even have any anymore? How many of you still have checks? I think I've got some somewhere, but I haven't used. I haven't written a check in 5 years probably. Really interesting stuff, isn't it? Good discussion, people. Yeah, and if you think about it, how many of you deposit your checks via the internet as well? So I mean, all these things. Yeah, Jody's saying I still have checks, but I haven't written one in years. Yeah, I'm I would love to know if anybody's still writing checks because our technology has grown so quickly that this is like we don't need to write them anymore. And I think it's it's why I say that we need to be grateful for what we've got. And to really appreciate, how far we have come. I was sort of working it out, um, I'm very seriously thinking of cutting my cable. That's my next thing I'm going to cut. And I'm going, and the first thing you need to think about is what program will I miss if I cut the cable? What program or programs? And I realized I really don't watch a whole lot. Why do I still keep paying for cable? Kimmy's saying, I pay bills online banking. Yep, I do too. So we will have to go back to money orders and mail. Yes, imagine that. Do you have postage? All right. Do you have stamps? So that's something you might want to prepare. Do you have stamps and envelopes just in case? Wouldn't be a bad idea. Oh, Kimmy's saying she quit cable 10 years ago. Wow. That's amazing. Anybody else? Totally quit cable. Yeah, hi there, Jeannie. Good to see you. Hope you and York are well. Yeah, I must admit that I still have a landline. And everybody said to me, oh, you don't need one. You've got a cell phone. And I don't know about you, but at my age, I feel safer having a landline as well. And I'm prepared to do that. I could be wrong, but it's like, if the electricity goes out, I lose my cell. Actually, I think I've covered that there pretty well, haven't I, with my charger and everything. But, it's just like I just feel safer having that. Jennifer Lopez said, we've been making our own opportunities. And as you prove your worth and value to people, they can put you in a box. You hustle it into happening, right? How many of you realize that we actually teach people how to treat us? Yes, Kimmy's saying all those people who sell online will lose their websites. It's possible. So all the web-based businesses, right, would have a problem. Yeah. So I'm hoping it doesn't happen, but what if it did? Okay, interesting. Jody's saying we cut cable last year. We treat ourselves during the Christmas season to restore those channels and then return to streaming services only. Yep, good idea. So, do you think that, of the million people who've just left the Ukraine, how many of them will ever go back? You see, that's what you have to think about. They could be shipped anywhere in the world now, just so that they can, find a home and have food and, find families who will help them put their feet back on the ground again. Um, but you know, they may, you know, you've got a country that just lost 1 million residents. Think about that. You've got a country that no longer has stores operating properly, or, you know, a tax base working properly, or anything else like that. You know, I am certain that the international community will help with money and everything else that Ukraine needs to keep the country running. But you understand, when you've lost 1 million residents, you've also lost all of that, and all the people who were renting apartments to those 1 million people. You know, think about that, right? Yes, it's interesting. Good, Kimmy. I'm glad you can see that. For older people, it might be hard, but for the younger generation, it will be really hard. Yes, I agree with you. The ones that have only ever known cell phones, that, you know, have never known anything but online banking, you know, stuff like that. I agree with you. It's more difficult for them. Yes, and Jeannie's saying many Ukrainians want to return when things are stable, but some will never return. I do believe that. And I do know that, you know, some people actually going into the Ukraine at the moment. There are, you know, people from all around the world that are choosing to go and help them fight, which is amazing. How about this one? What you get from achieving your goals isn't really as important as what you become by achieving your goals. As Zig Ziglar said that. And I think that's so true, right? That when we battle through these sort of things, you know, and achieve one step at a time, whatever it is we're trying to achieve, it is the journey that's the important thing. Oh, Jeannie's saying that she also has a landline as well as a cell phone. May I ask why? Is it the same reason as I have? Yes, and Kimmy's saying, you know, those of us who are older, we know how to do things without the internet. The younger generation, it would seem so archaic to them. Um, you know, you know, but then we are the generation. I mean, I'm thinking about the time, you know, they've never seen a phone where you had to stand still and talk. You think about that, right? You think about how many of you grew up with a telephone where you had to stand in one place and talk. And, you know, you couldn't walk around the house and dust and clean windows and tidy up while you were having a conversation. Yeah, Jodie's saying the same thing. She has a landline too in case of emergency. Yep, I'm afraid that's one thing I am very weird about. I don't want to let go of that landline. So, yeah, what else? Think about that. What else would the younger generation not know how to do? Uh, Dry clothes without a dryer, I'm thinking. uh, yeah, quite a few things, right? So, you know, you look at it and you go, is it that the older generation is more flexible? Or no, we actually have more knowledge if you think about it. Our knowledge base is not only the state of the art stuff, it also is the state of the art stuff. So we've got the old knowledge, the medium knowledge, and the, you know, some of us are managing to keep up with the new knowledge. And so we're doing, yeah, how about write a letter? That's a good one, Kim. How many young people don't know how to write a letter? And what do you mean you have to stick on a stamp? You know, find an envelope. Yeah. Hmm. And how about actually learn how to spell? Yeah, quite a few things. How about this one? You are never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream. And I would ask you, in terms of what you're feeling with everything that's going on, I've noticed that, do any of you find that you've sort of become a bit slug like? You know, you've slowed down a bit with all that's going on in the world. And I really haven't carried on at my usual sort of speed. And I gave myself permission to not do that, you know, to be okay with it. But I need to start speeding up again because I need to get my life back on track. It's like, okay, I had a week of dealing with possible war, and now I need to get back on and do stuff in a different way. Tina Turner said, I believe that if you just stand up and go, life will open up for you. Something just motivates you to keep on moving. And, I'm certain that, we were talking to Charlotte earlier, who's been out 319 days of the year now. Every single day she's been outside for at least 30 minutes. Okay, now Kimmy's also saying that the younger people don't know how to do much because they don't care to listen and learn. I'm not sure if that is true, quite honestly, Kimmy. I mean, I understand that how you see it. I think they listen and learn different things. All right. They have been taught that to have a very short attention span, which is why things like TikTok are so popular with young people, right? Because they've been taught, if you can't get the message over in a split second, don't do it. And so, you look at all sorts of different things and they just learn in a different way. I think they learn, and I think they listen to the things they want to listen to. I think they just do it at a speed that we can't comprehend. That's my personal feeling. And they get bored. Yeah, they have a very low attention span now. Think about that. I think that is the difference, right? What about the rest of you? What do you think? Do you think that they don't care to listen and learn? Or what do you feel? And Kimmy, it's not that I think you're wrong. I just see it slightly differently. So, but you might, your experience is your experience and mine is mine, right? Doesn't mean that either of us is necessarily wrong. Yeah, they don't know how to get along without the internet. Absolutely. Their entertainment is the internet. All right. If you think about for young people, the internet is everything to them. It is their communication system. It is their entertainment system. They don't go, they don't do the things that we used to do. Yes, that's an interesting one as well that Kim is bringing up, right? Does the younger generation today know how to do without stuff? All right. Jeannie's saying, my mother wanted me to learn typing and shorthand in high school, regardless of taking college courses. Shorthand opened up many job opportunities. Now, who knows what shorthand even is, right? I also learned shorthand and typing, and boy, was I grateful for both. I actually found it quite useful when, I'd sit in a meeting with, a whole lot of directors and things like that. And literally I'd be sitting there and they'd be saying something and I'd go, well, wait a minute, you said da da da. And they said, no, I didn't. I said, actually, I took it down in shorthand. Yes, you did. What? I said, I took it down in shorthand. That's what you said. Because I took it down as you said it. All right. So Jodie's saying about the young people, I think it's all about how the lessons are presented, right? If you can keep it fun and relatable, their interest will be piqued and you'll hold on to it. But even so, I do agree with Kimmy that they have a very short attention span, and it's different. We can go back to using typewriters. Yes. Have you got one in the house? I've got an old clunker one, like one of those, an antique one. You want to see it? Of course, can I still get a ribbon for it? There's the thing. And it doesn't work very well, but better than nothing. Yeah, I can remember buying typewriter. And what about correction fluid? Right? And how about carbon paper, people? Before we had. Oh, you'd love to see it? Hold on a sec. You can probably tell how heavy it is. There you go. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. So people are going, what's carbon paper, right? Well, we didn't have the Xerox machine in those days. Um, and it really is. I mean, it is amazing that I learned to type on something. The reason I have it is I didn't learn to type on this one, but I have it because that's how I learned to type on some. It's an Underwood, and I learned to type on an Underwood. And it just is amazing to me. And it doesn't have a ribbon in it, and it only goes that far. Oh, there we go. It could do with a little bit of oil, I think. Yeah, our carbon printer is called the printer, right? Our carbon paper is called the printer. That's right. And, you think about it, the things that we have today that we didn't. And that's why I like to have it where I've actually had young people come in and say, my gosh, what is that? Jody learned on a Scalextric. Yes, an IBM Scalextric. I remember that very well. Boy, that was quite advanced, the Scalextric. Yeah, the QWERTY, the original QWERTY board, right? So, and it's just like, when I'm feeling stupid, and there are times when, with modern technology, I get frustrated. I go, so remember how you started. Remember how you started. And what you've learned since then. And I think it's really important that we get a sense of humor about that. Excuse me. All right. So what else would they miss? What about in the kitchen? Yeah. What about if the microwaves didn't work anymore? Right, and they'd had to actually cook without them. How I think about that. Oh, in my case. Yeah, Jody's reminding us of the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. For those of you who don't know why that's important, when we were learning how to type, that basically used nearly all the letters in the alphabet, right? And it was just like that's how you learn. Of course, now, Jody, I wouldn't be able to do it because I wouldn't have the pressure on all my digits anymore because of the arthritis. Yeah, it's QWERTY, QWERTY, I think. Kimmy, QWERTY, QWERTY board. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, Jeannie, there's a great memory, right? Jeannie's saying in 7th grade we used treadle sewing machines. How many of you used a treadle? I definitely did. Yeah, we had one in my house. And they worked beautifully. I think they worked as well as anything. And in a way, they were easier to manage. No, it's okay, Kimmy. I just wanted to make sure you knew, because it's the letters here, QWERTY. That's why it was called a QWERTY. Okay? So, yeah. And how many of you used a hand one? You had to be pretty well coordinated to use the hand one. At least the treadle, your feet were going and you could use both hands. But on the one that you had to turn like this, and I can remember having one where you did that, you had to actually manipulate what you were sewing with one hand and wind the sewing machine with the other. Yeah, amazing, isn't it? Great memories. How far we've come. Yeah, let's think what else. Well, I mean, let's hope that we still have electricity. And I'm going, because I still would like to be able to have my latte. Yeah, I don't function without my latte in the morning. I could. I could. By the way, that's another thing I'm really proud of. I think I've got about a year's worth of coffee stored up now. Um, and now I will still buy more, but I'll only buy it when it's on sale. That's what I've been doing. Every time coffee goes on sale, I will buy an extra one. Wow, yes, there's a thing, Kimmy. How many young people know how to put wood on a stove to cook food? Well, if they've been camping, they probably do. But maybe they only had gas canisters, right? Um, yeah, that's a good point. Do they know how to cook on a fireplace outside? All right, or how to keep warm? Yeah, it's an interesting thing. But don't you think it's the reason I used to take young people camping with me. Now we did pretty, pretty much glamour camping, glamping. But I used to do that so that they would know how to light a fire properly and how to put it out properly and what incredible meals you could cook if you had ingenuity. All right. I could cook a 5-course meal on a campfire if I wanted to. All right. You can imagine. It was an experiment that I tried one day. I was out camping with a friend of mine, and I literally came out of the woods with a tree trunk that was totally dry. Now, a tree branch, a whole, and I literally, started the fire and, had it burning from the center, and I was pushing the ends in all the time, and I cooked this 5-course meal. It was a great meal, and I remember just shaking my head and going, "Yeah, if you want to do it, you can." How about this one? We need to take risks. We need to go broke. We need to prove them wrong simply by not giving up. All right. All right. And that's when I heard that Lionel had hurt his shoulder, my first thing was, you're going to have so much fun finding out what the two of you can do together. You see, I don't believe it, Jody. My heart broke for the fact that Lionel was injured, obviously, but I thought it's going to be really interesting to see what you two get up to together. Right, Kimmy, there's another thing. Washing clothes by hand on a washboard and hanging clothes on a clothesline, even having a clothesline. How many of you, I found the best washing machine you see, camping taught me an awful lot about survival. I found one of the best washing machines out there, if you wanted it, was a bucket and a toilet plunger. Mind you, when you're camping, the best washing machine, if you're doing long-term camping and moving around a lot, is to have an ice cream bucket with a lid on it. And what you do is, before you start going on the road, you throw everything in there that you want, either the whitewash or the dark one, and put the lid on it. Oh, put some soap in it, put the lid on, and then you drive. And by the time you got to the next place, that stuff has been sloshing around in there. And, perfect washing machine. Yes, Jody's saying it. This getting injured, Lionel getting injured, it made us realize what we're capable of. Also recognizing our limitations and adapting each task to meet our ability. Yes, you see, this is the whole thing. Part of when tough, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. It brings out the best in you. Jeannie's saying on Ash Wednesday, I nearly fell into the pew, wrenching my left side. Oh, my left hip. I could hardly walk that day, still recuperating. I am so sorry to hear that. And that would be my next question for those of you of religious faith. What have you given up for Lent? I really want to thank Jody for a great idea, which was that this Lent I am not buying vegetables. I am eating out of my freezers. to use up some vegetables. And I must admit that I'm also, because I know I've got a lot of vegetables in there, I'm also trying to make sure that every day I am making soup, or I'm making soup every couple of days so that I can, um, use up vegetables as well. Anyway, Jeannie, I'm sorry to hear that, and I hope that you'll be better soon. Um, yeah, yeah, that's so sad. Did you trip on something, or how did you end up nearly falling into the pew? I hope you're okay soon, as we all said, right? How about this one? It was said that you do not find a happy life, you make it. Jodie's saying that for Lent she's giving up snacks except for popcorn. No chocolate candy until Easter. Right. I also have bought popcorn for snacks. And mind you, I did treat myself to something else. Mm, this bad person. What did I do with it? No candy, but I did buy myself a jar. And on order is a jar of speculoos as well, because I love those. And I want to just talk about something that mm, smells so good. Something that Jody said. Sometimes uh, having having a little treat like that. Um, Let me see what I've got here. I've made myself a little half pitas. All right, made a pita and then cut it in half and then cut it this way. So here we have a half pita like that. And have it on apple. Yeah, it becomes health food. That's what I reckoned as well. So, just a teaspoon. That's not even a teaspoon. But I want to tell you, does that taste like heaven? You bet. So, and surprisingly enough, and this is what we've been finding, surprisingly enough, 1 tablespoon um, is 120 calories, and I've probably got half a teaspoon on here. So it actually isn't nearly as bad. And this is my own multigrain. Mm, so good. And so it's about, this is way better for me than a bag of candy. It tastes so decadent somehow. But Jody, you taught me that it isn't about what I can't have, it's what can I have. I was a little bit hesitant to take my blood sugar this morning, I don't mind telling you. But it came in at 5.9, and I went, got sort of about 103 or something in American. So I was really happy. Oh, and by the way, to anybody who suffers from allergies, uh, my allergies have been so bad. I'm so bad this week. Even with medication, my eyes have been streaming, my nose has been streaming, and I wonder if anybody else has had the problem. I know Benji has, because, Julie was telling me that he had the same problem this week. But, oh, been bad. So I think that having a lot of fear at the moment is normal. All right, I think that's quite normal. Just don't hold on to it. Have any of you felt stuck in fear? Mm. Okay, Jody's saying about my eating habits. You do such an excellent job of portion control and balancing your meals. When I see the pictures of your meals, they're so colorful, eat the rainbow, and healthy. Well, I definitely have changed. I can say that, Jody, that I have changed a lot. And as I said this evening, I'm going to be cooking up um, some stuff because I'm going to go somewhere tomorrow where I've got a potluck situation. So I thought, well, we'll cook it together tonight. Mm. Jeannie's saying things are growing, and that's contributing to the allergies. Yeah, well, I want to tell you, they're definitely growing around here. And I went to go out in my car this week, and I almost couldn't find it. It literally had a layer of pollen across my car. And I went, no wonder I'm struggling. No wonder I'm struggling if there's that much on my car. I'm inhaling that stuff. Pretty bad, huh? Deepak Chopra said, you must find a place inside yourself where nothing is impossible. So, how many of you believe that even if the going got really tough, presuming that we weren't hit by a nuclear bomb and things just got really difficult, how many of you think that the chances are you would have enough intelligence, emotional intelligence, and enough street smarts to be able to survive? And to me, you know me well enough to know that I always ask myself, what if I didn't have whatever? How would I cope? My life is always like that. Kimmy's saying that in Kentucky, where she is, we're waiting for a big winter storm today and all weekend. Yikes. It's been nice for a couple of days. Yes, we've had quite a nice couple of days as well. Right. So Jeannie's saying we definitely, she and York would definitely survive. You've been through worse. All right. So yeah, this is the whole thing. Um, I think anybody who's ever been a camper will survive. What did I say? Wyoming? Sorry, in Wyoming. Yep. I said Kentucky, I think, but I meant Wyoming. Why do I always forget that, Kim? All right. So if you've ever been a camper, the chances are you will survive. Why? Because you're used to making a plan. You have that mentality. You don't expect everything to be perfect to start with, and that's really good. For those of you who listened a year ago and started stocking up um, your pantry, the chances are you will survive better in lots of ways. You will eat better. You will, be able to do that. Um, all right. So you want to learn more, Kimmy? What more do you want to learn? If you remember, I have already got two things going for me. I have got my electric barbecue, if I need it. I've got my gas, propane type barbecue, and I've also got a little charcoal barbecue. So I reckon if I can cook if I really need to. And if propane isn't available, I've got this little thing. Survival is there. Yes. So what worries you about survival? How will you keep your milk going? You think it's going quickly now? It'll go even more quickly. So what is for those of you who are into thinking about this? Let me ask you what survival things do you wish you had learned, or would you like to know about? Do you have candles, matches? Um, how much soap have you got? And the whole thing is, don't buy it all in one time. Just every time you do a shopping thing, add something to it. I have a whole box of old candles that I have kept, big ones. Half-used big ones. Some of them are 3 wickers, some of them are pillars. I've got a whole box of them, plus quite a few tea lights as well, because tea lights actually are very good for heating. If ever you need heat and you don't have it, a tea light under a what do you call it? Terracotta flower pot works like incredibly well as a heater. I look at it and go, I know I'm pretty good self-sufficiency wise. It's the reason I've keep growing things, or keep trying to grow. I will show you this evening how that potato plant has grown. It's almost got to the stage now where I'm scared to move it because it's so big. But what I wanted to show you was, is it possible to do without a garden? And the answer is yep. I mean, we haven't got potatoes yet, but another month or so we will. Yes, keep the lint from your dryers and stick them in your toilet rolls. All right, makes wonderful fire starters. By the way, don't keep them in the house, right? Because they also, if you have a fire in the house, they will go up like Roman candles. Have you found other uses for lint, by the way, from your dryers? I found one more that I'm working on at the moment. Let me show you. You can't really see it in here, but actually I have got lint and dryer sheets in here. And I'm going to use these to keep the slugs away from my seedlings this year. All right, I've got a whole series of them where I'm just going to put them in my garden. And I think it'll work because they're not going to like the feeling of the nylon. It's my new experiment for this year. Yeah, Kimmy's saying we have a problem growing because of the type of soil you have. Are you making your own soil from compost? I kept all my old leaves and I'm digging that into the soil now, Kimmy, and that's made a really healthy soil for this year. Plus, I've got a composter that I've been feeding all the time. When I say feeding, I put all my kitchen scraps in there, not bones and not meat, but anything else other than bones and meat go into the composter. And in a season, it turns into a pretty nice sludge. And I just dig a big hole in my garden and stick it in there. Yeah, you can grow herbs and cherry tomatoes and stuff very easily. Good idea. Yeah. So, I think if your earth isn't good, you can turn it. I want to tell you the earth where I am wasn't good when I got here, but it's getting a lot better. So, how about this one? We have to let go of what we think should be and embrace what is. All right. There's part of me that went, if I didn't have a car, would I survive? I think in today's reality, probably not too bad. I am about 2 blocks away from a local store that sells, all the produce I could want and a lot of uh, regular things. So yes, and there is a bus stop outside my community here. So if I needed to go uptown, so to speak, I could do that. So what about you guys? If you didn't have, for those of you lucky enough to have a car, if you didn't have a car, could you survive without one? And, how would you do it? Have you thought about that? Because the cost of gasoline is going to get really high. So, you look at it and you go, part of our experience in life is dealing with what is every day. Yes, Jeannie, I've been doing that for a long time. Jeannie's saying York, her husband, spoke about doing many errands at once to consolidate because of the high gas prices. I have one day a week where I go out. All right, that's my new thing, Jeannie. And sometimes it's once every 2 weeks, but I have to remember to charge up my car anyway. Um, right, and so but once a week I will go out to charge the battery on my car and do whatever chores need to be done outside. I utilize other people's gas. In other words, I have most of my groceries brought in, and I have a lot of my normal shopping brought in from Amazon. So I'm not paying, well, I am paying for the gas on the prices, I guess, but you know what I mean? I'm not filling up my car to do that. Right. Jody's saying we have the use of a car right now, but lived 4 years without one. You get creative and learn wants versus needs in a hurry. Yes, living without a car is very, very a good experience for most of us. However, as Kimmy so rightly says, but you do need it for doctors and hospitals, or what about in the winter? So very, very important. Jeannie's saying where she lives, the grocery stores are not within walking distance. But aren't we lucky that as long as we still have telephones and the internet, the chances are we're still going to be able to use things like, online grocery shopping and so forth. Or, most stores today after the pandemic have got delivery services now, which we didn't have nearly as much of before the pandemic. So think about how much things have changed to our advantage. Right? So I'm basically going to continue to talk about survival stuff, if just so that we can do that, and to remind ourselves that we can cope. It's just we need to think a little bit differently. Yes, I agree, Jody. The pandemic changed grocery shopping forever for a lot of people, right? A lot of people who had never tried online shopping did that, and also did online grocery shopping. Kimmy's saying that they don't have delivery where they are. Boy, I want to tell you something. Wouldn't that be a great business to bring to your community? There's part of me that goes, if I lived in a community that didn't have online grocery shopping, I probably would buy a van and stock it up with fresh fruit and vegetables and drive around my neighborhood. It would probably take a week before I had a regular route. How many of you can remember, when our milk was delivered to us every day, where our fresh vegetables were delivered to us from the farmers? I can remember those days. Huh. So, if again, um, that would be a great business. By the way, will you remember something? Even if you were one of those million refugees that have just left the Ukraine, how many of you know some people would be making other people laugh? Because being happy never goes out of style, and being able to laugh will keep you sane. Exactly. Jeannie's saying at the beginning of COVID, neighbors delivered groceries to us. I paid a little extra. I pay a little extra every week to have my groceries delivered to me, and I think I pay about $5 a week. It's my pleasure. I save money. All right. So Kimmy's saying, I don't use online because it's so out of control. They can charge whatever they want to. Okay, that's your choice. It's not that you can't get it. You choose not to do it, right? So anyway, this is like, be aware that you have choices, even if you don't want to use them. All right. Be aware that maybe you don't have a car, but your neighbor does, and therefore you can share, the cost of gas, and maybe one of you go out and go shopping, every other week and get stuff for the other person. There are ways of doing this, or we can sit and say it's not fair. Well, I just want to give you the heads up, as I've been doing for a year now. Things are going to get a lot worse, even if we don't end up with, being able to stop what's going on in Ukraine. Things are going to get a lot worse. Are you ready? Are you prepared? Have you been stocking up? And if you haven't, what are you going to start stocking up on? And, I really recommend taking, every time you do a shopping list, take one category, whether it's, I'm going to get more grains. I'm going to buy oats. I managed to get some more rice this week, but it was in short supply, interestingly enough. Have you got rice? Have you got, the basics? If you really had a problem, what are the basics? And you just think about it. It's things like flour and rice and, things in tins, because tin will be very, very in short supply if we go to war. So think about these things and really concentrate. As I've always said to you, don't concentrate on what you can't have or what you don't have. Concentrate on what you can do with what you have, or help other people with what you have. And, when you get that sort of mentality, a lot of you are wonderful bakers and do all sorts of wonderful things. Yeah, we probably throw out enough food in a week that could feed so many people. All right. And we will learn that again. So I say to you, you've done a great job with your feelings if you're still halfway sane. And I say that because I cannot imagine anybody that isn't scared to some degree of what's going on in the world. And if you're not a little bit scared, I would worry about, are you aware of what's going on? Or are you just turning a blind eye and not realizing how serious this could become? And I would say to you, but it doesn't mean we can't cope. It means, hey, we're going to get very creative and be a little slower in throwing things out because you might need them. Be a little more aware of what you do with leftover food. Be more aware about how much you cook. Do you really need to cook that much? Learn to do with a little bit less, and you will be able to survive this a whole lot better. So this is DearMamaSal saying thank you so much. And your feelings are not, you're not alone. I want you to understand that. If you're feeling a little scared, it's not because you're weak or stupid or uninformed or what, everybody's feeling a little scared. And if you are wondering, will I survive? The answer is you bet you will. If you don't get nuked beforehand, we will survive this. Not all of us. It's a bit like the pandemic. Not everybody will survive the pandemic. But if you do the right things, your chances of survival are slightly better. And so what I say to you is, maybe if you are somebody who's driving to work at the moment and spending a lot of money on gas, maybe you need to change your job and get a job closer to home. And quite honestly, you're saying, but I have a good job and it pays me well. Yes, but you may end up paying 3 times as much for gas, in which case you'd be better off getting a job paying you less closer to home. You'd end up with more money. Think about those sort of things, all right? This is DearMamaSal saying, we'll see you tonight when we're going to cook up some koftas. 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 And then have some fun, as usual, in the kitchen. So thank you all for being here. I love you dearly. Jody, thank you for all that you do to support us and do all the research at the same time. It always amazes me how you manage to do that. But you do it so well, which is why you got the job. Um, and for all of us, let's keep as good a mentality as we possibly can. Get enough rest, all right? Um, Turn off the news. Don't watch it all day long. Turn it off. Get a new hobby if you possibly can. Do everything you can to distract yourself away from just feeding this stuff into your brain morning, noon, and night. So, everybody, we'll see you tonight. This is Dear Mama Sal saying thank you for being here. We'll see you later. Bye bye for now. Thanks, Jody.